This is Nasha Kasha, Ukrainian Almanac, 28 minutes of stories for everyone about Ukrainian life. Nasha Kasha is heard on campus and community radio stations from Newfoundland to British Columbia. Vitayu, welcome. My name is Stefan Andrusiak. This program was first broadcast in June of 2019. Before it's over, we'll get a 2021 update. Colleges train and put students to work. Construction and engineering technologies is one of 7 main program areas at George Brown College in Toronto. We are about to meet a teacher whose graduates go on to manage construction sites, but he is better known after school hours for banging out a beat with Canada's most prolific Ukrainian festival and dance band.
My name is Bill Haverschuk, and we're meeting today at George Brown College in Toronto, the place that I work at. My father arrived in Canada in 1951. He didn't talk much about the war. He would have been young. I guess when the war started, he would have been 14. I just know that after he was in Lockerbie, Scotland, and he was there for 2 years working on the farms, and he learned how to become a truck mechanic. Stayed a few years, and in 1951 came over on the boat with a bunch of guys.
Settled in Toronto?
Yes, settled in Toronto. Close to the Queen and Bathurst neighborhood where most of the Ukrainians landed when they came here. 3 guys renting 1 room, sharing 1 bed, working shift work, and came to Canada with $10 in his pocket. My mom arrived in 1953. She was born in Norway, grew up in Hamburg, Germany. Her parents were deaf, and when you had children, if you were deaf, your children were taken away. So she ended up in Hamburg, Germany. In the early 50s, her stepfather got concerned about Cold War tensions and what was going on, and he said, you know what, if there's another war, you can't be here. So he put her on a boat to Canada, and she arrived here as well.
So she grew up in Germany, of Germanic background?
Yes, that's right. She grew up in Hamburg, Germany. And her aspirations were to be a ballet dancer. Family couldn't afford it, and with the war and everything else going on, it just never happened. So,
how does the Ukrainian-German background, how did that inform your upbringing?
My parents did speak English at home, and as well, I grew up in Scarborough, which is a suburb on the eastern side of Toronto. So I wasn't exposed to as much of the culture, I guess, as a lot of my, current friends were, the ones who grew up in Hyde Park. Both of my parents were always in night school for something. My mother was studying English. She wanted to lose her accent. She worked at Scotiabank. My father was studying sheet metal and all kinds of other stuff like that. But going back to that, it was more of a Canadian household. We lived on a street where, aside from us and the Czech people up the street from us, everybody was like an English background. And we fit in quite well.
Did you hear German and Ukrainian music in the house?
Yes, my mother was the one who was playing more opera music, and she would play some German, more of the modern German stuff in the 60s, like the James Last and the Heino and all that sort of stuff. My father had, of course, the Kapella Bandurista albums and other Ukrainian albums, and I absolutely loved it. To St. Anne's Ukrainian Orthodox Church in Scarborough. From there, going on Saturday night sometimes to either a wedding or a Zabava, and to see the live band, I would sit all night and just stare at that band. I enjoyed learning things. I enjoyed making things. I was the person in grade 5 who put together the school newspaper. I was the one in camera club, developing pictures in trays with chemicals, yearbook, that sort of thing. The plan was to take 1 year off. So I started working at Scotiabank when I was 16 because I had skipped a grade. So I graduated from grade 12 when I was 16. I ended up staying at Scotiabank for 7 years, and I went to night school at Ryerson, and I've got Institute of Canadian Bankers diploma, and I studied economics and communication and accounting and business admin, and I worked my way up to the chief accountants department at King and Bay. Then I did go back to Centennial College, and I studied computer programming and stayed at the bank during that time working night shifts, and I became a management level COBOL programmer, computer programmer in the late 80s.
Okay, so walk me from there to construction.
Back then, everybody smoked at work. Well, a lot of people did. And I worked at a building at Birchmount in Eglinton with a couple thousand people, and probably half of them were smoking. When I was younger, the smoke didn't bother me. As I got a little older, certain brands gave me a splitting headache. I thought I would take a few months off and try out construction. That was 29 years ago, and I never went back. I was always somewhat handy. I did study carpentry in high school as one of the credits. I was good with it. And I started, believe it or not, building decks and fences and finishing people's basements. So I worked on my own, and then I got into insurance restoration work, and I enjoyed those jobs. They were smaller ones that involved 1 or 2 sheets of drywall.
So you have left the bank at this stage, and your subcontracting
That's right,
contract.
yeah. So, and I did that for about 6 years, and then I started working for a subdivision home builder. There, I was the person who went to the house after people moved in, and I repaired all of those little things that were left behind that had to be taken care of. They promoted me to assistant superintendent. So next thing you know, you're building 154 houses, and they're all different, and wow, what a job.
And under your guidance or oversight, there were fewer things to touch up after people moved in?
Exactly. See, when you work in service and you're the last one out and you have to get that final signature, you approach the construction process differently. First introduction to a Ukrainian band was in 1978. A guy that I went to high school with was playing guitar with them, and he mentioned, why don't you come along? We're having trouble with our sound. So I'd worked on stage crew. I volunteered on stage crew throughout high school, and so I went along, and that's what they really needed. They just needed a hand to have somebody out there to make sure that it wasn't too loud, and then you could hear everything at the appropriate level. So I did that at first for free, and then I think the next booking after that, they paid the expenses, and then shortly after that, I remember making $30 a night. It was a big deal. But I think back then a band was going for about $300. About 8 months later, and this is with the band Solove, and in July of 1979, I played my first wedding on drums with them. I ended up being the full-time drummer in Solove from 1979 to 1983. It was November 1981, I met Ron Cahoot for the first time. There was a Ukrainian caravan restaurant in Yorkville, downtown Toronto. And Ron said, I have a gig in 2 weeks and I need a drummer. Are you available? I was shocked and very excited to play because I'd only been playing drums for about 4 years or so.
And these are professional musicians.
This was something, I remember buying that album at Arca on Queen Street and taking it home and saying, wow. And so I played most of Ron's live gigs from 81 till about 1986. The Yavir Ukrainian Dance Group in Toronto, and Ron was playing for one of their concerts. At the end of the night and packing up, Ron was talking with this very pretty girl. Her name is Anna. Anna works for the Ministry of the Attorney General. She's a court stenographer, and that's the first time that I had met my wife. Morris Hutzel is the accordion player, the band leader in Zirka, and I played with him around 1995. I got a call to play for the Barvinok Dance Group in Mississauga. The two of us met and went through rehearsals and did the shows, a few times a year, and that's how we originally met. Their cousin decided to not play anymore, and then they were using somebody else on drums, and he got very busy with work. So there was quite a few last-minute, calls. Are you available for this Saturday or next Saturday? And I started coming out for that. But then in January 2006, I got hired full-time with them. Zirka has 3 brothers and a sister.
They grew up in Sudbury, right?
That's right. They grew up in Sudbury, and Morris on accordion and his brother Peter on guitar. And they must have been, I think, 12 or 13 years old when they first started performing at house parties. So after so many years, brother John started on trumpet, but he also plays drums. And then Catherine started so many years later on saxophone. And so that was the core of the group. It was the 4 of them. And
she's a spark plug.
Oh, she is just one of the nicest people to be around. She's the positive, the energy and stuff like that, just terrific. And especially now with Catherine and and Johnny on trumpet, and with Karen on the violin, on wireless mics, wandering out into the crowd. Boy, it really makes for a really entertaining evening. You know, sometimes when you listen to music, you can tell that the musicians are smiling when they're playing. When I started, we couldn't play in Toronto for free, and we were calling around, and this is true. We were offering some organizations and dance groups to play a fundraiser for nothing, but nobody knew the band. And our big break, I guess, our first Toronto gig was at the Toronto Ukrainian Festival. I believe it was 2007. It was at the Harbourfront 1 year. Things picked up. Another thing that really helped, Doug McClement came out and recorded us at a Zabava in Hamilton, and I also hired 2 professional cameramen and an editor. All of us together as a team produced a DVD that we put out. So the CD was very successful. And on YouTube right now, I believe our wedding march has more views than any other Canadian Ukrainian music song. I think it's about 120,000. Yes, in October of 2012, I very unexpectedly had a massive heart attack. 3 o'clock in the morning, I woke up to a lot of discomfort, but it wasn't your typical symptoms. I didn't have chest pain. I wasn't short of breath. My arm or my jaw wasn't sore. I just felt like I had food poisoning. So I took a shower, got dressed, and I came to the college. And I was here for the day. And then when I got home, I took my blood pressure on the blood pressure machine, and it was over 200, and I figured, you know what, something's not right. So I went to the hospital, and sure enough, it was determined I had a massive heart attack, and the next morning I had a stent installed. I've recovered quite well from that.
We'll be back.
Somebody asked me one time, what do you teach? And I said, construction management. And they said to me, is there such a thing? And because some people look at those buildings going up and they figure everybody with a lunch pail and a hard hat, they just know what to do. But somebody has to be there to coordinate. Planning, pre-planning is critical. Effective scheduling. So this is what I teach. I get the students in third year, so just before they graduate, and I teach them contract administration, how to properly document changes, how to make proper payment applications, proper contract scope and analysis. In the 6th semester, I have a course that I developed that gets them ready for the workplace. And I take them through an actual project in Scarborough where a street was built. And they start by looking through the drawings and color coding things and coming up with a budget. We deal with soil problems and change management, how to deal with submittals and schedules of values and all that sort of stuff, but they're all tied together on that one project. So it's a really valuable course, and I take a lot of pride in the fact that students contact me later and say, sir, now that we're at work, we're doing exactly what you said. Every task has a successor and a predecessor. So you have to organize it all in the best way so that it all ends up with the desired outcome.
It must be a wonderful feeling because so many people, and I on occasion have had days like that professionally where you go to work and you come home and you can't exactly quantify what it is that you've done. You know what your tasks were, you know what your environment is, but in construction you can point to that.
Yeah, it certainly is something when at the end of the day, you can see what you built. You have to use your experience and try to visualize this project finished and then decompose it backwards and say, okay, what has to happen for us to get to this point?
Thank you very much. Дуже дякую тобі.
Great, thanks very much.
Recently, I was able to contact Bill to catch up for an update about his teaching, construction, and playing with Zirka.
Hi, this is Bill Heverschuk checking in from Toronto. With the COVID restrictions, teaching was all moved to online as of a year ago, as of March 2020. So I do teach online. I teach live online. So when my class, let's say my lecture is on Monday morning at 9 o'clock, it starts Monday morning at 9 o'clock. And that's me delivering the content at that time. And I will have 50 to 60 of the 75 students logging in. They'll be live with me. And on the right side of the screen is a chat window. They can ask me to repeat things. They can ask other questions. They can ask me to slow down. At least I'm there to respond. This last session, even with the COVID restrictions, 12 or 13 out of the 16 students were able to be placed with builders, and they're out there working right now with them. One other topic is the band Zirka. I'm the drummer in the band Zirka. I've been with them for 15 years. And the last wedding we played was the end of February 2020. And boy, that night, we never would have imagined that the following year would have been like that. What we've done in the meantime, we were approached by the Capital Ukrainian Festival in Ottawa last summer, and they were working towards putting on an online Zabava. They asked us to participate in that, so we went to a recording studio and recorded 8 songs with just basic video of us performing, and we submitted that, and it was really well received. Morris was feeling that, listen, we got new material here, and we got to get this out. All these people are stuck at home. So we started releasing it 4 songs at a time. So it's called Zirka Live in Isolation, and at the moment we're following up with a physical CD. And I've been going out for walks and bike rides and listening to it, and it's got a really nice energy to it, and I really hope you're able to check it out on Spotify or Apple Music. Anyhow, so the band, we're all obviously really looking forward to getting back out there and performing again. Follow us on Instagram or on our Facebook page is the best way to keep in touch with what's happening next. And as well, we do have a new website up. It's been started, so the whole thing isn't there. But if you go to zirkamusic.com, you'll see that we're still there. You know, it hasn't been a great year in some ways as well, but I really don't want to dwell on that. You know, like my classes last summer, the ones I usually teach from May until August, were moved to September. So all of a sudden I found myself with no income for 4 months. But you know what? You kind of, you do what you got to do and you get through it. So I don't want to dwell on all the things that we should have done or the things that the government should have done or things like that. I think we have a lot to look forward to. And the sun is going to come up tomorrow morning. And we have to be kind to ourselves. We have to treat ourselves like the way we would treat a person that we care about. Wish you all the best, health and happiness, and we hope to see you, or as many of you as possible, out there soon on the festival or the Zabava or the wedding circuit. Take care, and bye for now.
Nasha Kasha comes to you from Radio Western 94.9 FM on the campus of Western University in London, Ontario, Canada. We're heard on CHMR 93.5 FM in St. John's, Newfoundland, on CKDU 88.1 FM in Halifax, on Local 107.3 FM in St. John, New Brunswick, on CJAS Radio 93.5 FM in Saint Augustine, Quebec, on CJLO 1690 AM in Montreal, on CFRC 101.9 FM in Kingston, on CFMU 93.3 FM in Hamilton, on CKMS 102.7 FM in Kitchener-Waterloo, on CJAM 99.1 FM in Windsor and Detroit, on CKLU 96.7 FM in Sudbury, on CILU 102.7 FM in Thunder Bay, on 101.5 UMFM in Winnipeg, on CJTR 91.3 FM in Regina, on CFMQ 98.1 FM in Hudson Bay, Saskatchewan, on CFBX 92.5 FM in Kamloops, on CJSF 90.1 FM in Vancouver, and on CHLY 101.7 FM in Nanaimo, British Columbia. In the first half of Nasha Kasha, you heard a little sample of the tune Rum and Coca-Cola by James Last. The Ukrainian Bandurist chorus sang the finale to Amazing Grace. The Toronto Ukrainian band Solovey from a YouTube live performance. Ron Kahut and Buria with the Days of the Week song. And Zirka. I opened the program with their signature song Zakuvala. And this is the Ukrainian Wedding March. From Toronto, we'll travel to Niagara Falls, Ontario, and we'll meet another Ukrainian musician who makes his living in the construction trades. This time, bass guitar meets hot asphalt. Hi, can I get in?
Yeah, jump on in. I'll show you how I make traffic jams.
How have you been?
Oh, not bad, busy. Yesterday was a washout, but today They're trying to make up for lost time for yesterday.
You're the safety inspector. I guess I should put my seatbelt on.
Yeah, it's Mike Kuchar here. I'm one of the construction inspectors, senior inspectors with the regional municipality of Niagara. We're doing a shave and pave, as they call it. It's a road reconstruction of just the surface treatment. Going to be grinding the road, fixing the catch basins, making some base repairs after we ground the road, and then we're going to pave it again.
So which street are we on?
Regional Road 49, which parts of it are McLeod Road and parts of it are Marineland Parkway.
So you live in Welland and you came all the way out here?
Well, I work all over the region, so I can go anywhere from Fort Erie, Niagara Lake, Niagara Falls, Welland, St. Catharines, Grimsby, Waynfleet. So you should get a good lifespan, 10 to 15 years out of a road.
So a tourism area, it's important to have good transportation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right now they're grinding the road. They've got the big grinder out there. And we're grinding the road about 50 millimeters, which is 2 inches. And that 50 millimeters will get replaced with fresh new asphalt.
So this is the shave part in the shave and pave.
You got it, that's right. These projects go out to tender, and various contractors within the area, they bid on it. Generally, the lowest bid wins the contract. I mean, we're already preparing lists of roads that need to be done 2-3 years from now. And then it goes out to tender, and then we, the inspectors, we ensure that everything is being done according to code, Ontario provincial standards. I keep track of everything.
I'm impressed. You're a music grad.
How I got started in this, actually, I've got a Bachelor of Science in Physical Geography and Geology. And so on.
What is it that pulled you in that direction?
I always liked to play with dirt when I was a kid.
No, that's good. That's it. I get it. I
remember as a kid with my baba, with my grandmother, out in the garden, and she'd be telling me different types of chornazem, and this is that kind of zamia. And
yeah, but Mike, she would have wanted you to grow the tomatoes, not pave over them.
Yeah, well, that's true, but Brock University had just opened up. I must have been maybe 8 years old. My family going over, they had an open house. There was this whole geology thing, and there's all rocks and dirt and minerals, and I just thought that was the coolest thing. I mean, music was always part of me, but throughout high school, just fascinated with the physical parts of geography.
Well, you're a bass player, so you like banging.
You got it. First working band I was in was a band out of Kitchener. The band was called Yassine in the 70s, late 70s. And then for a number of years, I played with a band that was based out of Welland called the Nationals. And we did lots of Ukrainian stuff. A drummer was Italian, so he sang in Italian. I sang in Ukrainian. Accordion keyboard player, he was Hungarian, Slovak. So we did all the chadadashes as well, on top of all the top 40s and the classic rock tunes.
How are you involved in music today, if at all?
I don't play as much as I used to. Actually, most of the stuff I do now would be more church stuff, and I do play guitar. I'm not playing as much bass as I'd like to, but the venues aren't there that were around. Many of the halls where the big weddings were, they're all gone.
You've got a good voice.
I still sing.
It's good to see you, Mike.
Yeah, thank you very much. You too, Stefan.
Well, that was the summer of 2019. When the pandemic hit, municipal and county employees were redeployed to assist staff at nursing homes and at long-term care facilities. And among them, my friend, the singing road building inspector.
This is Mike Kuchar from Welland, Ontario. Myself, along with another construction inspector and contract administrator, were redeployed on February 17th from our department to assist at various regional long-term care facilities during this COVID pandemic. Our duties were comprised of many tasks, including assisting screeners for everyone entering the facility, folding gowns, stuffing paper bags with masks, sanitizing touch points throughout the home, assisting in rapid swab COVID testing, dropping off and delivering briefs, assisting kitchen staff, all during a regular 40-hour work week. When I was redeployed to Woodlands of Sunset in Welland, I was asked if I had any special talents or abilities that could be utilized at the home. I joked, I could play a little guitar and I can sing a bit and I speak Ukrainian. As it turned out, I ended up playing a few times a week, 1-hour sets to all the residents in various wings of the home. They had not had any music or entertainment for a year. The joy and emotions from them can't be described in words. I got emotional myself a couple of times. I guess there was a bigger reason for me to be there. I was able to receive my Pfizer vaccination in late February. I was COVID swab tested 3 times a week. Social distancing was the norm. Mask, shield, gloves, full PPE was always the norm, 8 hours a day. I challenge anyone to sing and play for an hour with a mask and a shield on. I usually ended with, "We shall overcome." I returned to my regular position as a construction inspector on Monday, April 19th. Just some thoughts for everybody out there. Please stay socially distant. Wear a mask in public and follow all the public health guidelines. Get vaccinated as soon as you can. And pray for all of those people that are in the long-term care homes, including the workers and the residents. Stay safe. We shall overcome.
We Shall Overcome, made famous by Pete Seeger, was originally composed as I'll Overcome Someday by Charles Albert Tindley, who was a Methodist Episcopal minister and the son of slaves. Here again is Mike Kuchar singing it just for us, along with his wife Kim and his daughter Barbara. It was recorded on his smartphone. Nasha Kasha is also a podcast. There's an easy way to access it. Go to nashakasha.libsyn.com. Nasha Kasha is one word. Libsyn is spelled Libsyn.com. nashakasha.libsyn.com. New Pathway Ukrainian News delivers news and insight every week in English and Ukrainian. Subscribe today at newpathway.ca. Partial funding for Nasha Kasha comes from the Taras Shevchenko Foundation and the Ukrainian Credit Union. I'm your reporter Stefan Andrusyak. Back in a week, God willing. До милої зустрічі за тиждень часу, дорогі слухачі.